Welcome back, everyone, to Aces 53 with Ed Parcaut and myself. So, as you know, today's a Thursday, which is the Joker Day. So, one of the things we talked about on Tuesday was
Hold
the
on,
power.
what's a joker?
The
So that
Joker
we
is someone
don't
who comes
offend
in.
somebody. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. So, it's someone that has special skill, talent, and knowledge that they're going to come in and share with you guys today. So, why Joker? Because Aces 53 is attitude, commitment, enthusiasm, and smile. 52 cards in a deck, plus a Joker is the wild card. So hence the name. It's not offensive to the speaker. It's just that wild card that's going to come in and teach us something. So thank you for the reminder, Ed. And today,
trying, it's only been like a year and a half. You'd think you'd like just roll with this, but
I figured that they should just be a loyal audience by now. I'd already know it all.
Probably do, but the new people, let's help them out.
That's true.
All right.
So with that being said, today's Joker is Chris, as I learned. Let me see if I'm going to say it right. Wait. Casamassa, is that right?
Beautiful.
Okay, all right. I had to think about the trick that Heather taught me, and I won't say what that one is.
Yeah.
It is a good way for me to remember it. So, for those of you
Chris, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate you being here today.
Yes. Hey, thank you guys for having me.
So, Chris is a unique guy that we also met him in one of the events that we've all three been to in the past. And then I'm actually in a different mastermind with Chris, but most importantly is got to attend Chris's mastermind in Scottsdale, Arizona last weekend. They're all starting to run together. Yeah. A week ago. Right. And so a little bit about you. You want to give us your background about how you got started in this whole industry, the three things that you're known for, and what made you kind of start your own mastermind?
Oh man, usually the host will run off the bio and the resume. Honestly,
I can do that.
This is unique.
I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of this. I started martial arts when I was 4 years old, so I've been doing it my entire life. I study a style of martial arts called Red Dragon Karate, which was founded and created by my father back in 1965. My dad got his start in the martial arts in the military. He was a military police officer that was stationed in Japan when he was in the Marine Corps. He fell in love with the martial arts there, and that's where he started his journey. He actually extended his tour so that he could continue to train and become a black belt. So my dad actually earned the first of 10 different black belts that he has in a style of martial arts called judo. And he learned that, again, in Japan at the Kodokan, which is the original training hall where judo started. And when my dad made it to black belt in judo at the Kodokan, he was one of the first 10 Americans to actually ever do that. Because if you remember way back in the day, first of all, they didn't really like us. We had blown up their country. And so having a military presence in Japan, and my dad would tell some great stories about they were doing everything in their power to get him to give up and to quit and to get out. But my dad is Italian. He's a Taurus, and he's from the East Coast. So he's a stubborn son of a gun. And didn't give up and fell in love with it and continued his training and his journey in the martial arts. And then what he did in the early 1960s was very unique. And that was he took the different styles of martial arts that he learned and combined them into one very powerful and effective system. So my father is widely known as one of the originators of mixed martial arts as we know it in America today. So I like to say that because he was doing this in the 60s before it was cool. I could literally throw a rock from my building where I'm at now and hit somebody who's doing mixed martial arts because now it's super popular thanks to the UFC and all the things that have been going on the last couple of decades. But we were doing it way before it was cool. So anyone that's listening who's studying mixed martial arts today, I would just like to say, you're welcome.
See, now if we'd read your bio, never would have known that about you because
that's the backstory of my dad and our system of training. And like I said, I've been doing martial arts my whole life. So I grew up in it. I was a professional competitor on the North American Sport Karate Tour for over a decade. I'm a 4-time #1 national champion. So that's the martial arts part of it. And then, of course, if you see my background, I've done a ton of movies and TV shows. My skill set has allowed me to kick open some doors that would have previously been closed to me. But yeah, I mean, I got to be in Blade with Wesley Snipes. I fought Chuck Norris in Walker, Texas Ranger. I even got to wear the bat suit as Batman and Robin. I doubled for George Clooney in that movie. Whenever you see him punch and kick, that's not Clooney, that's me, which is kind of cool because I'm one of maybe 25 people on the planet that's ever actually worn the real bat suit. Yeah, which is kind of neat. But where I have the biggest fan base and what I'm most recognized for in that industry is I play the awesome evil ninja Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat franchise.
Right. And so for anybody who saw the post the other day, when I said, when Chris says, get over here, you go, that's what we were referencing.
That's it.
Gotcha.
So,
all right. So I'm going to
yeah,
talk
go
now. Sorry.
Yeah.
We take turns, Chris.
All right.
Question I have. All right. So we had not an argument, but a discussion on Tuesday. What is your definition of a mastermind?
A mastermind is a hive mind. It's a group of people, and they don't even need to be in the same industry, but on the same journey, right? Entrepreneurs, CEOs, small business owners who are trying to go from struggling to thriving and trying to move forward and learn things together to get better as a group so they can better serve their customers or the industry that they serve.
Well, that was a better definition than yours, Brian.
I know. I liked the hive mind idea. I was getting ready to say I liked that one.
Yeah. No, that because we were talking, and what I heard his description to me was like a coaching for the same people, and then they grew through that coaching. Where for mastermind, to me, it's like you just said, a bunch of people get together to learn different things at a group, and each time you could be part of it, but each time you pay, it doesn't matter. And because there's a mastermind summit in my industry that's coming in June. And it's a mastermind to me because everybody's coming to learn how to grow in your business. And that's basically what I always thought it was. So.
Well, listen, a lot of masterminds will start that way. There is one person at the top who's got a lot of the answers. And then there's people that want to learn from them. That is coaching, but that's also how you build a mastermind. What I like to do is, especially for the martial arts industry, there's a lot of old school mindset thinking that I'm trying to get people out of so that they can get more modernized in their approach to running the business side of what they're doing. Because of the human spirit and the nature of how we learn, in a mastermind, even if it starts with one coach, over time, those people that are in it learn and they get better and they grow and they're creative. And sometimes they get ideas on top of the ideas, which is great. And I've had my mastermind now for about half a decade. So I've got a lot of men and women in that mastermind who are getting pretty smart, and they'll come, I'll give them a concept and they'll go, what if we do this? What if we do that? And I'm like, you know what? That's great. Let's present that whole thing like that to the group. So that's where the hive mind mentality comes. Yes, I'm in charge of it. And yes, I've got a ton of the answers, but I don't have all of them. And everybody, I coach people from different states, and even I got a couple of people in Canada. So everybody's area is a little unique to them. But when you put those ideas together, that melting pot kind of makes something really cool and helps everyone as a whole.
How did you start your mastermind?
On a challenge from my coach. I was in a coaching group with this guy Ed Rush and Mike Koenings. Ed Rush is a F-18 fighter pilot. He was one of the Top Gun instructors, and he went into business and applied his military training into the business thing. It's a really cool dude. But I was in their mastermind, and I was kind of sitting cruise control-ish, like just taking information, not really doing anything. They're like, all right, if you want to stay in this mastermind, we're going to need you to create a mastermind for martial arts. And I'm like, what? And they're like, have you ever run an event before? I'm like, no. And they said, you have 60 days. So they literally forced me to run an event, to bring a bunch of people together from my industry and to pitch this coaching program, because my studios, and we have 17 locations here in Southern California. We've been in business for 59 years now. So we've made every mistake possible. So if you're a martial arts school owner, you want to learn from someone who can fast track your success, well, we're the answer for you, right? Because it has nothing to do with the style of martial arts. It's systems, right? Business is run by systems, period. Doesn't matter if you're martial arts, if you're fitness, if you're yoga, or if you're digital marketing. Systems run businesses, period. The systems that we've developed through making every mistake in the world can literally fast track a bunch of people's success. Ed and Mike knew that about me, and they're like, you need to share that message with other people. So they kind of put me in an arm bar and made me do it. And I'm glad they did, because it's been a great journey, and I've been able to help a lot of people.
Now, when you got started, and one of the things that for people who don't know is it's not just a mastermind for one type of martial art. Several of the people that are in there have different types of schools. Like you said, they may have one school. They are geographically located all over the area. And that's what I thought was really neat, is the way that you ended your most recent one was you had students present ideas that were working within their area as well. So it wasn't just being preached at, you make them part of the presentation to help them with that hive mindset, as you like to call it.
Yes. Yeah. That's like I said, it's the great thing is it doesn't matter what style of martial arts you do. The business systems that run the internal process of your studio are what make the difference between students staying and leaving. Because listen, regardless of whatever style of martial arts you're teaching, the goal of any good instructor is to someday get their student who starts to become a black belt with them. That's a journey that can take 4, 5, 7 years, depending on the style. And not a lot of people have the self discipline or the focus to stay in something that long. They think, I'll learn a few cool martial arts moves and then I'm going to be great. But the martial arts is an art form, like music, like acting, like dancing. Those are art forms that take years to master. The difference between martial arts and all the other sports I named is what we do can save your life. Right? And that's what I tell parents all the time. If just one move that I teach your child someday saves their life or prevents their nose from getting broken or prevents your daughter from being raped or sexually assaulted, what's that worth to you? That's why they can't give up. That's why they've got to keep going.
I get you right here when you have a daughter.
Yeah, and I've got one too.
I got a couple of them.
Get it. Yeah.
They just got an angry vet for our father. So.
I had one of those too.
There you go.
Not angry. Just a vet.
Well, so Ed, sorry if I'll talk too much like I normally do, but because I just sat through Chris's mastermind, several things that stood out to me that make it in my mind a mastermind. Lots of group work and exercises. So you force them to come together and not just one person's ideas. You do them in different locations so people get an experience where they're away from their daily life. And it forces that cohesion when they're on the road and they're there to focus on what they're there to learn. And then the third one is you bring in a variety of speakers every time I've ever been there. Who was the guy that is the kind of the YouTube guy that you brought in last time? Master Ken? Is that
Master Ken? Yes.
Master Ken. Ed, if you have not seen this guy,
I've seen this.
on YouTube,
you talked about this the first time you got in this group, and you talked about it on here. And so
loved it.
And you played the YouTube video and all that. So
that's right. Okay.
Totally, I remember these things. That's just how I am.
I do not.
Yeah. Chris, question for you would be, and this wasn't where I was going to go when we started this, but
yeah,
what would you do differently today if you're going to start another mastermind? Or was there anything you would do differently?
Good question. No, actually, no. And I know that's not very humble sounding, but the coaching I had to start it really helped me. Like I didn't have to make a mistake. They forced me to do it, and they took me out of my comfort zone of going, well, I'll do it eventually. They're like, no, you have 60 days. So, but they walked me through the process. They had a mastermind. They had set up the process. They basically gave me their system for how to set up an event to build a mastermind from the event. So I wouldn't do it any different, because if I did it by myself, I'm sure I would have crashed and failed miserably.
Would you want any of your current mastermind people who come to you go and start their own mastermind? Is that what is your long-term goal?
Well, look, here's the thing. In the martial arts in America, there are, I'm rough on the stats, but I'm pretty close. There are about 15,700 licensed martial arts schools in America. I can't coach them all. If all 15,000 said, hey, we want you for a coach, I'd be like, nah, I fucking can't do it.
Right.
So would I want them to start their own mastermind? Sure, because there's a lot of people out there who need help. Now, that being said, there's also a lot of pretenders. There's also a lot of fakers, right? So it's important I don't care what business you're in. You need to vet whose mastermind you're going into to make sure the real deal. I have a thing that I learned at a young age. My father taught me that has served me well. And he said to me, Chris, never take advice from someone you wouldn't be willing to trade places with. And that has served me well. So regardless of the industry, and like, for example, Mike was talking about the distillery and Driven, right? The people in those rooms, I'm listening to everybody because they're at a place where I am aspiring to go to. Yeah, I'm successful. I've done a lot in my life. I've made a lot of accomplishments, but there are people like I'm sure you know Chasm.
We know the people
awesome.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So guys in there, I'm like, that's another level, and that I aspire to that. You know what I mean? I don't look at those people and go, wow, I can't believe they did that. There's no way I can do it. I look at those people and go, I'm going to be shoulder to shoulder with them.
Right.
right?
Yes.
That's my mindset of it. So, and here's the other thing too, especially the martial arts industry in a lot of aspects of our marketing and systematized processes, we're ahead of a lot of other businesses. We really are. I talk to a lot of local businesses in my area where our studios are, and just simple things like using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram to market and advertise for free, billion-dollar platforms that we have access to for free, and they're not using it. Like they're losing the game, and then they're doing things like newspaper ads or magazine ads or coupon clippers. Like they're throwing money away. So like some of the guys in my group, I've helped them create little mini masterminds in their shopping center where the other local businesses are paying them for the knowledge that they have and they're gaining from me. But their mastermind fee with me is free because they're being paid by other people. So there's a lot of ways that you can do it and make it work. And listen, I'm a hyper competitive person. So in the martial arts industry, there used to only be like 3 of us, me and 2 other people that were doing coaching. And now again, every freaking martial arts guru is doing coaching. So there's times when I see that and I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do this because I don't want to be associated with them because I know some of them. And they're not even successful with their own studio, and you're going to tell other people how to run their business. And that goes back to the don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade places with thing for me.
Yeah, but you're the authority in the industry because of what you've done, right? I mean, you're
true.
I lived in San Diego for many years and in LA, so I totally know the whole thing. I'm just in Northern California now. But that's a huge market. I mean, that is huge. The millions of people that are down there, that's a huge market where a lot of places, that's a whole state, right? So for down where you are, I mean, for what you've done and you accomplished, you can go shoulder to shoulder and then go, okay, this is what I'm going to take advice from this guy because of what he knows and what he's done, and he's the authority. And that's our biggest push this year that we're talking about here is how to be the authority in your industry. Well, you did that.
Right. Well, and continues. One of the things that Chris does is they talk about something that's successful that they're doing, and then they give the revenue numbers behind it. And then they don't just say, well, here's our numbers. We did really good. They break it down to a per person. Give me what is your membership fee cost? What is all this? And that helps each person figure out their own magical number. And is that particular program good for their location or not? And that was sitting in, I think you guys covered 3 different types of ways that you can bring in students and or look at revenue, maximize your studio time, you name it. But it wasn't just, hey, go try this out. It's, we've done this. This is exactly how you can do it. This is what it meant for us in these terms. Now you decide, is it right for your location or not?
Yep.
And there's a lot of people out there who have a mastermind who once did something, and people will sign up for it all day long because of who they once were. I would rather be in a mastermind with somebody who's still doing it. Like when I hired Steve as my speaking coach, why did I want that? Because he was still speaking, not he spoke in the past. Right. Same type thing.
Yeah, exactly right. And then the other thing that I like to do, which one of the things that makes my mastermind a little unique, is when I roll something out to any of my members, it's done for them. In other words, it's as simple as copy, paste, and deploy.
Right.
And it's done for them in the fact that, again, because we have 17 locations, when we have an idea, we roll it out into our schools, we get the data back from it, then we fix it, we tweak it, we make it better, we get more data, and then when it's pretty close to perfect, I roll it out to them. So everything is road tested and approved. And while nothing is perfect, we make it as close as possible for them. And it makes it easy because, listen, most business entrepreneurs and small business owners especially are busy. They don't have the time nor the financial bandwidth to take a risk of running something that could fail or cost them a lot of money. So we try and make it to a simple point of just copy, paste, deploy.
Because a lot of the studios, I assume the person who owns it is teaching also, is still running the stuff. It's not, they don't have multiple locations with multiple people. So I totally understand what you're getting at.
And then that's the other thing we have to get them out of, right? We have to get them out of the mindset of working in their business and get them in the mindset of working on their business. And when you're teaching every class and you're running every program and teaching every new member that walks through the door, you have 0 time to work on your business. In other words, they're now a prisoner in their own business because they work for it. It doesn't work for them. So teaching them how to build a staff, how to recruit front office help, how to recruit assistant instructors on the floor. Those are all other things that we do so they can truly become an entrepreneur who's working on their business.
But all that takes time too.
100%. Yeah. I'm not Thanos. I can't.
No. What I mean is because
happen, right?
because I'm sure your dad, when he started, he had one studio. How long did it take him to get to where you guys are now? I mean, this business, 50 years, or how long did it take?
Yeah, 59 years. Like before 2015, I would have never thought of starting a mastermind, right? Like we've unlocked all the secrets. So in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 70s, every mistake that's possible, because listen, my dad is a genius. He's a creative. To me, he's like Michelangelo. He created something out of nothing. He took all these different pieces, put them together, and created a dynamic system that has withstood the test of time. So for that part of it, for me, I'm always going to hold him super high esteem, because I couldn't imagine doing that, especially in an era where the martial arts was very regimented in the fact that, and this was kind of an unwritten rule, but this weird thing would happen in the martial arts. If you were a Japanese stylist, you were only allowed to do Japanese martial arts. If you were Korean, same thing. And I don't mean by nationality, I mean by what you learned, because all the martial arts was started in Asia and different parts of the world, and was brought to America by different pioneers, my dad being one of them. So you got pigeonholed into this, well, you're a judo guy, you can only do Japanese karate. And so my dad just basically one day, one of his cool things that he said, somebody came into his studio and told him that. And he looked at him, he goes, "This is America. And I'm an American. The last 4 letters of the word American are I can. I can do whatever I want. You can't tell me what to do. Get the hell out of my studio."
Wow.
Right. So on that aspect, my dad was great. On the business side, he didn't know jack shit about business. He was a military guy. He went to the military right out of high school, didn't really have any formal business education. He was a military police officer, he was in the Marine Corps, came out of it and became a cop for a few years, right? He took that, what he learned there, became a cop. The business side, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He knew he loved martial arts. He knew he loved teaching people. And he goes, "Well, I'm going to open a studio." This was 1965. There were maybe 100 martial arts schools in America at that time, maybe. Wow. So there was no one for him to learn from. So we did everything ass backwards because we didn't know any better. And fortunately for me, I had a front row seat. I get to sit by his side as a little kid and watch and learn and watch and learn and watch and learn and watch and learn. So, 50 years later, I'm like, I think I can help other people. But there's people who hop in this industry for like 4 or 5 years and they're like, I'm going to coach people. Like, you don't know shit. You're going to help someone. Your school has 50 members and you're barely getting by and you're going to coach someone. Shut up.
That sounds like my industry. Because it's the same. I was like trying to do all this stuff, and it's like, okay, you've only been in it for 3 years. That's great. That you have no understanding of the knowledge that it takes. I've been, I got into this business. I was taking people from 13 to 9, and they loved me. And now, back when we were giving 2%, they thought that's that low enough. Is that the lowest you can go? So.
All right. Well, Ed, you got to fill me in because you just might as well spoke Latin to me. I don't know what
I'm in the mortgage.
What you're doing.
I was in the mortgage industry, so that's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question for you on the mastermind. It's a 2-part question. How do you
don't
pick
only
the right
1-part questions? You don't get 2-part questions.
No way. It's 2. Which is hard? Okay, I'll make it into one. Which is harder to vet for your mastermind? Who you're going to have come in and speak to your group, or who are you going to allow to join your group?
Who I'm going to allow to join my group.
Okay.
Without a doubt. And here's why, Brian. And this is why. Listen, I got to meet you by being in another mastermind. I got introduced to you, and so being in these higher level masterminds allows me access to people that I wouldn't normally know of or meet. Right. And I said this when I introduced Brian at our last mastermind. Like, he's spoken 3 times, I think, to our group at different points over the last couple of years.
Right.
And every time I learn something. Me. So I try and bring in people that I want to learn from. Right. That's why I bring in Adam Lyons. That's why I bring in Brian. And Brian hasn't even scratched the surface of the knowledge that he has in his head about that stuff. And and Brian, quick sidebar, I got to tell you right now. So every time I meet someone now, I look at their eyebrows and I'm like, oh, yes, round, straight, boom, up. And then I go right to their eyes and I'm like, okay, positive side, negative side, good, straight, both sides. Got it. So I'm actually learning, I'm getting better at it.
There you go.
And I'm looking for this.
Yep.
So see if I'm speaking their language. I see the head nod. I'm like, thanks, Brian.
I appreciate that.
Well, that's when I met him at Steve's event. He says, we got a facial recognition person coming in. I'm like, software? Why do I need to know about that? Then he comes up on stage, right? I mean, that's what you're thinking, Yeah. And he talks, and then we took him out to the bar, and I was challenging him with everybody, messing with it. And we go out. I mean, I'm not kidding. There was a lady over in the corner. I wanted him to read her face, but she had all her sons around her. So he went over there and he started doing the sons. And next thing you know, he got right to the mom. And So we had some fun with it.
Yeah. Because you have them at different locations. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Ed, did you have a question? I just asked.
That wasn't a question. It was more of
Okay.
a statement of what I used you for, entertainment.
I know,
but once people really learn this, it's a game changer. And that's why I'm so adamant about people need to know this. I had him on when I first met him 2.5 years ago. I had him do my staff, and he was like 90% on the first one. The second one, she was hard to read because she's like me. This is me happy. This is me sad. And she's like, oh, he's about 50%, right? Well, I'm like, that's 50% easier for me to understand who you are and how to talk to you than before.
How did you end up getting the last mastermind at Michael's headquarters instead of a hotel? Because I do think, as an attendee, the venue that they're located in makes a difference in how that goes. Hotel rooms, can be boring after a while. But how did you maneuver to get unique experiences for your attendees?
Well, this kind of been my theme as well, because again, I've been in other masterminds. I've been in other rooms that I thought were boring and dull and listless, where everybody just sat and listened to speaker after speaker, pitch fest after pitch fest. And I was like, and again, I was watching and just taking notes. This is everything I don't want to do. So when I set up my mastermind, I wanted to do that. I wanted to take them to unique locations. That's why at the end of every event, we take everyone out to dinner. Like, we sat around the fire pit and had cocktails and just talked shit to each other the whole time. It was a great bonding moment because we're all in this struggle together. I ended up at Burnoff's place because I was very fortunate. Right place, right time. I was speaking at an event in New York 5-6 years ago, and Mike was on the same stage as me, and I got a chance to see him. It was the first time I ever saw him speak, and he blew me away. And so after that, we kind of developed a relationship over the years. And then he opened this new headquarters in Arizona, and I had wanted him to speak at our last few masterminds, but the dates have conflicted. Yeah. So he goes, you can have it at my place. And I go, your place? Because he was telling me about it, but I hadn't seen it. And then, so it just kind of worked out that we had it there. And I go, so if I have it there, you kind of have to speak, right? And he goes, yeah, I kind of have to. And I'm like, then we're having it at your place. But that screen that he had was a 20-foot LED, 20 feet by 15. It was huge.
I think it was 20 feet tall, and it had to have been wider than that. I mean,
yeah, you're probably right. It was big. It was the best AV setup we've ever had for a mastermind, for sure.
Oh yeah, it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I saw it. It was like, wow, that's a huge screen.
Yeah, and the confidence monitor was even better, because normally we get a little, speakers will get a little confidence monitor, maybe a 40-inch TV at your feet, and you're looking down. Well, in his space, the confidence monitor is eye level, but it's in the back of the room. But it's also about 5 feet wide and 4 or 5 feet high, so you don't even have to squint or anything. It's literally like you're just looking right at your slide, and it's awesome.
I was trying to see where I had a picture of it, and I can pop one up here in a minute while we're talking. Go ahead, Ed. I'm gonna look for a picture so people can see it.
How about you just go to your Facebook page or your Instagram page and have it all over
on
there.
Instagram.
Yeah, it's all over there.
How tall are you, Chris?
5'10".
5'10". All right, so it's almost twice as tall as you are. I'm looking at one of the pictures now. It's crazy. Yeah.
And you can't share pictures. You can only share unless you share a screen. So.
No, I know. I was looking at my iPad. So
you can't see it.
I can't see it.
We can kind of see it.
The glare on the
yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. Let's see if
it's like taking a picture of the old TVs.
Yeah. So just the height of that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that way everybody can see what they need to see, right?
Yeah. It's that subtle skills on Instagram.
All right. So the industry you're in is a very unique industry. Are people being pushed more to get people into black belts than they've ever been before? Certain different.
No, people are being, and I wouldn't say pushed, they're being persuaded to join martial arts more and more, which is great. And again, having perspective of being in this business my whole life, when the original Karate Kid movie came out in the 80s, this is no joke. We had lines out the door of people wanting to come in and sign up because it was so popular. Everyone wanted to be the Karate Kid. In 1984, man, all you had to do was open your doors and you had business. It was great. Over the years, that's gone, it's gone up and down. But with the funny thing is, with the new Cobra Kai TV series, it's actually been another shot in the arm for all martial arts schools across the country, because that series has become very, very popular. And that's, getting more people aware of the martial arts in general. Of course, the UFC and all the things that have happened there have made people more aware of the martial arts as well. And the need for it, unfortunately, is greater today than it was back in the 80s or 90s. So it's a double-edged sword on that aspect of it. We're here to help people, and unfortunately, people need us more than ever. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is, and so we're here to help.
No, I didn't ask my question right. I heard a story. I heard something that said that the businesses are being asked to increase the, make the time slow, so people get their black belt much faster than they did before. I heard that in an article. I guess I read it, not heard it in an article, and I just didn't know if that was correct. Is that just certain schools? Maybe
it's certain schools. Listen, every industry has their assholes, and we are no exception to that. And there are people who literally will let people pay for their black belts. It's kind of a bastardization of what we do and what we stand for. And it's not a good thing. So yeah, it happens. Every industry's got people like that, and ours is no different.
And your schools are all down in Southern California. There's nothing anywhere else.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
So what we're hearing here is you need to come out with a martial arts movie about every 3 years to keep your industry growing.
Yeah. Well, listen, almost every Marvel movie now features martial arts. The DC movies, martial arts has become very mainstream. There isn't, and that I was talking to a producer the other day. There isn't a martial arts movie star right now. There's a lot of martial arts in movies, and every freaking TV show on the planet has, all of a sudden every lead actor is a martial arts master when they have to fight the bad guy. But there isn't a martial arts movie star. Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris. They've all become older. And it's so, and Van Damme. Like we don't in the 80s. You had all of that, 80s and early 90s. So it's kind of gone away, but it's morphed into something else where it's now become the standard if you're going to be an action star. And I think that the cement on that statement is Keanu Reeves. Right. And it started with him in The Matrix and transformed into John Wick. Right. And the cool thing about him is he's legit now. Like he is trained and he's done it. And I think he's got a black belt in 1 or 2 different styles because he wanted to be authentic. He's a great actor and he wanted to really do that. But that's made it, the martial arts itself, even more popular because of things like that.
For anybody who has actually bought any of the John Wick series and you go into the special things that you can watch, you watch him go through the various trainings. And they talked about he would start training 6 to 8 months in advance of filming for the roles because he didn't want to half-ass it and he didn't want to have stunt doubles the entire time. That's a cool thing. 2 questions, I'm sorry, Ed said I can only ask one. You have a limited time today, so I got to run 6 minutes. So let's finish it up. Sure. So one of my favorite things that you talked about was bully proofing, and I think there is a common misconception that if I put my kid in martial arts, they will be the bully because they will learn special knowledge. But what you talked about at the event were the 4 different types of bullying and actually how to help save kids. Besides bullying, is there another thing that you think people are missing that they don't enroll their kids into martial arts that they should know about?
Yeah, well, that what you hit on is probably the number one thing, right? That's the biggest myth that we have to bust, that my kid will learn to beat people up. The martial arts is thousands of years old, and it was invented for one sole purpose, and that is self-defense, right? To fight back against those who oppress them. That's why martial arts was invented. And if you go back to the pyramids of Egypt, have characters of different fighting styles. That's how old the martial arts is. But that's the double-edged sword, right? The movies have made martial arts popular, but then you think that all martial artists are like the people that you see in movies, and they're just going to be beating people up. So that's the thing that we fight back against the most. But like you were at the event, so you already know what I'm going to say. Our job is to teach a generation of superheroes, not super bullies. So the martial arts at its heart and soul, regardless of the style, regardless of where it came from, is for self-defense, not self-offense. And that's the biggest thing that people need to understand. Plus, listen, all the side benefits, right? Focus, respect, discipline, confidence, all the things that you need in any job, in any aspect, in any part of your life are all found in the martial arts. That's why I always say, people go, I'm gonna play soccer. And I go, listen, anybody can kick a ball. You need to learn how to kick a person because a ball's never going to attack you. You know what I mean? So it's things like that kind of help and will make a difference to do
and
it.
You can kick a person in the balls, so then you got both in there.
Touche, my friend. Touche.
I've got to get running, so we'll have to close up today. But how can everybody find you, Chris?
I am one of the easiest guys to find on social media. It's just a matter of learning to spell my name, like you have it at the bottom of the screen here. But they can reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. I am everywhere that they are is the easiest way to do it. Or again, any of our websites, reddragonkarate.com or chriscasamassa.com. But I do want to make one shameless plug. As you know, Brian, I've written a number of books. I have a kids book coming out in May, and that is called The Adventures of Backpack Billy. It is part of our Bully Proof series. I've written 2 books that have both been number 1 bestsellers for parents, but this one is directly for kids that are getting bullied and the different ways that they can use it. And I use this mythical character named Billy and his little secret dragon that takes him on these adventures so he learns how to be bully proof. It's a cool animated book that, P.S., we're also already in talks to convert into a weekly TV show for kids.
Awesome.
Wow.
My passion project is to help 1 million kids. So
that's what I was gonna say. What is your goal and that you talked about? So you just hit it.
Yeah, to help 1 million kids become bully proof and fit. That's the goal. We've done through our course and our program, a little over 78,000 kids have taken our bully proof course so far. So we're on our way to the milli.
That's fantastic.
All right, Brian, take us out.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Do everything today.
Yeah. Chris, thank you for being our guest joker today. Ed, thank you as always for leading the way, starting this whole podcast off for us. And everyone else, hope you enjoyed today. Know you enjoyed today. Make sure to follow and subscribe. If you found this valuable, especially if someone has younger kids and they're not sure what to do with them, they're trying to figure out what sports to put them in, what can they do? Take a look at martial arts. Reach out, follow Chris's programs. We just put it back up there. I'll pop it up one more time. Here's how to reach out to him. Like I said, the guy could have fallen on his fame. Oh, look, do you know who I am? I'm Batman's stunt double. I'm Scorpion. But instead, he's out there to help people through his schools, through his masterminds, through his speaking. Make sure and follow him. And again, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again next Tuesday. Not hope to. We will see you again next Tuesday when it's just Ed and I when we set you guys up for the rest of the week. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.